welcome back to Cindy's Library. Sorry about last week. It got rather busy with my sister moving and such, but I'm back today. But I don't want to do exactly what I usually do. No. Today I am going to make a deep reading confession. I just don't like most historical fiction. Now, there are exceptions. I can love mysteries set in the past. I can love some things that are more historical, but that have a bit of a fantastical twist. I can enjoy like some Jane Austen adaptations or reimaginings, but straight historical fiction, I just read the biography or the history book, please, in most cases. But that's just me. I happen to love histories and biographies. And that doesn't mean that there are zero historical fictions that I like. There are a precious few that I do indeed enjoy. So let's talk about some of these. The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. So this has two timelines. The first one, we're never exactly told when it is, but it certainly seems, I'd say 50s, 60s, 70s at the outside. So that is when the main story starts with our heroine, Margaret. She is the daughter of a rare book owner, or he owns a bookstore, and much of where they get their money from is from rare books. She helps out with the bookstore. She's even done a few little biographies of her own, of more obscure people. Well, out of the blue, one day she gets an invitation to interview famous author Vida Winter, I believe, and I believe that is her pen name. She has written 12 best-selling books, but has never really said anything about her life. But she is old, not doing well. She figures maybe it is time to finally tell the story of her life, and she invites Margaret to do that. And so half of the time at least, we spend hearing Vida Winter's story, which sounds more like late Victorian Edwardian, certainly before the First World War. And so many literary references. You have Jane Eyre, you have Sherlock Holmes, all sorts of things. A very tragic story overall. And no one really, well, there are some decisions that maybe should have not been done, or some things that could have done better, but you don't really dislike anyone either. Except the twins. Yes, there are twins. So, but the twins, not sure if you can say you like them, but you find them fascinating, as do other people in the book. So there's that one. Gilead by Marilynne Robinson, which I quite love. Won the Pulitzer Prize, and deservedly so. So John Ames, He is the pastor of this town in Gilead. I forget exactly where it is. It might be somewhere in the Midwest anyway. He is old, not old, but he has a bad heart. He has a young wife and a much, much younger son who may barely remember him. And so this is him telling the story of his life, his father's life, his grandfather's life, and the different phases of America that they each saw. Wonderful, wonderful. Now this is just fun. It's Once Upon a Wardrobe by Patti Callahan. So in this case, we have Meg Devonshire, who is going to Oxford. And she has a young brother, George, who sadly is sick and probably is not going to live out the next year. But he has recently found a new story, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which he has fallen in love with it. And so, with his, shall we say, encouragement, Meg goes off to find the author C.S. Lewis and ask him how did he write the Chronicles of Narnia? What led him to do so? And this is that story. Love the Oxford setting, love C.S. Lewis, love the Chronicles of Narnia. So this was a good fit for me. And we have the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society by Mary Ann Schaffer and Anne Barrows. And this tells the story of Juliet Ashton. She is a writer in, I think she's in London. And she gets a letter from a man, let's see who, oh, it doesn't say here, but she gets a letter from a man from the island of Guernsey, which was under Nazi occupation for most of World War II. And as they exchange letters, she slowly gets the story of this society they created there and what happened during the war to them. Let's see, what else should I say? Oh, he writes her probably asking for help getting a few books from London, since of course they don't have anything new there, or even new old there. And so there's that. And let's just say this literary society may not be all that it seems. Now, this one is Stone Table by Orson Scott Card. It's been decades since I have read it, but I loved it at the time. This is the story of Moses as it should be told. Oh, so wonderful. You can watch the cartoon Prince of Egypt, because I love that too. That is a wonderful depiction of Moses' story. But after that, well, I went to go see Prince of Egypt last year, and production was wonderful, had all the songs we love, some new songs, some of which I enjoyed more than others, but they lost the core of the original. This keeps the core of the originals. So I would recommend reading that. Then A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor. This I'm not sure I can say it's a great book, but there's plenty of quotable parts, and I just like spending time with, oh, what is he? Yep, he is a count. So it's not too long after the Bolshevik Revolution. USSR is now in force over all Russia and neighboring countries that they've been able to get. This gentleman, this count, well, he's an aristocrat, which of course is everything the revolution stands against, except for the fact that decade, maybe two earlier, he wrote, I think it was poetry that was pro-worker. And so they decide they will let him live. He is basically under house arrest in this hotel and cannot leave. And so we watch him as he learns to have, well, he was already rather of this disposition, but he learns even more how to live a wide and fulfilling life in such a seemingly narrow physical space. The people he meets, they influence him, he influences them. We also see how the Soviet Union changed over the first 30 or so years as we see this count watching all of these changes from this hotel. So those are some historical fiction I actually did enjoy. So, what about you? How do you feel about historical fiction? I think most people do seem to like it because it seems quite popular. Booktube, the bookstores and such. So, I must be the odd duck out, but I've still managed to find a few ones that are gems, at least for me. So, thank you so much for stopping by. I truly do appreciate it. Oh, and if you do have a historical fiction to recommend for me, you are welcome to do so, but I cannot guarantee I will like it or not, since my track record is pretty abysmal. But I have found some that I like I said, so if you know of others like those, I am all ears. Again, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope we all stay safe and healthy until next time. And as always, happy reading.